If you're feeling sluggish, bloated,
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday morning. Let me make sure we got everything going here. Sweet. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday morning. We do have quite the amount of headlines to go through, so Okay, let me make sure I got everything here. Oh yeah, we got a lot of headlines to go through. Okay. Hey, Mama Media, how's it going? I forgot. Do you stream, Mama Media? Doing good. Long day ahead though. Oof, sorry to hear that. Yesterday and Monday were incredibly long days at work, that's for sure. I do, but personal life stuffs have been making my stream spotty. That's okay, we'll give you a quick shout out. Folks, if you don't already follow or support Mama Media, go ahead and give them a quick follow, right? Just do that. Hey Renardus, how's it going? I get my second dose today, hoping I don't get a fever because today is the last day to study for finals. Oof, good luck, Renardus, and I hope everything goes okay. Usually Sunday afternoons I do Among Us with Lefty group of friends. Nice. Hey Justin, how's it going? Thank you. Excited for these headlines. I've been barely laying attention lately. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, okay? That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's probably good. Alright? We do have plenty lined up, so I'm just gonna start with a couple of these, okay? Somebody posted this one up here. Somebody posted this one up here. I thought Kalinske had a different setup. I mean, I'm not, like, a big fan of Kyle Kalinske, but, sometimes he has good takes. And, I can't remember, but I could have sworn he had a different setup, but I can't remember. Definitely looks like a gamer setup, true. I just watched Kyle's video on COVID vaccine patents. Yeah, I think that that's horrifying. Why would you patent something so important like this, right? Unbelievable. I don't think that in this situation, COVID patents are warranted. COVID vaccine patents are warranted. I also noted that yesterday, I did misspeak. So just to, yes, that's right. Kyle is a lib. I did misspeak yesterday. I said, that the United States was sending the coronavirus to India. That's not what I meant. I said that the United States was sending the virus, the implementation or the parts to build the virus. What I meant was they are sending the parts to build the vaccine, not the virus. Okay, so just to clear that up. Imagine standing on the shoulder of giants and trying to patent the view. Yeah, hey Memo. Hey Darknet. Biden said that he'd make it available immediately to the world, and yet here we are. Well, Biden said a lot of things. Alright, let's see what Mr. Kalinske has to say.
Wanted to go after Ilhan Omar, wanted to go after the left flank of the Democratic Party, and so they invited on somebody who's originally from Cuba to make the case that America's awesome, Cuba's terrible, that's communism. The left of the Democrats, they want communism. And so they go off on this idiotic back and forth. Take a look.
And somebody else who came here from another country fleeing for various reasons, Ilhan Omar, said this. And it said this: key policies that have been progressively sponsored bills for more than a decade and now being pushed by POTUS are basically her ideas. Free pre-K, tax the rich and corporations, paid family leave, child care, and school meals. That's the power of organizing. She and the squad.
Folks, communism is when you get free pre-K and community college, when you tax the rich and corporations, when you give people paid family leave, and child care and school meals. That's the definition of communism, ladies and gentlemen.
Who are way to the left are running, it seems, most of the programs that the White House is putting forward. Does that scare you? Final thought.
Does that
Very
scare
scary.
you?
And why does not she go back to her country to try to preach that? Because she came to this country running away from totalitarianism. She came to this country for freedom.
Yep.
And now people like that, it is absolutely incomprehensible betraying the
Wait. You can't talk about wanting to have more freedom, and then when you talk about having more freedom, it's like they live in like this doublethink world. Unbelievable. So wait a minute. I mean, wouldn't it be more free? Wouldn't you have more freedom if you didn't have the burden of student debt? Wouldn't it be more freedom to have your children in pre-K for free? Wouldn't it be more freedom to make sure that kids are fed in school? This is beyond. I mean, we already have public schools, so we're living in full-blown communism. True. Yep, that's right. See, when we have like K through 12, that's okay. But the moment you add community college or vocational schools, that's when it turns into communism. See, that's the key right there. The key is as soon as you pass the 12th grade, that's when it becomes communism, okay?
country that accepted us just like our children, just like we were born here.
Unlike you, who's thrilled to be here and happy to be in the best country in the world, she seems to feel just the opposite. And yet she's got a...
Wait, hold on. Wait, these policies would objectively improve this country. These policies objectively would improve this country, albeit by a small amount, but it would improve it. I think that maybe these people don't care about this country. Yeah, I too remember when childcare destroyed this country. Why do you think they're trying to corporatize schools and create charter schools? Yep. Yeah, that's... Oh, I'm sorry, Darknet. I forgot to add. When you have pre-K, that's when you have communism too. So it's a two-pronged attack, okay? This is how the left does it, okay? The left implements communism by making sure that people have pre-K and making sure that they have college. It's a two-pronged attack. Don't forget that, okay? Hey, spread it forward. That's correct. Apparently wanting to improve the country you live in means you hate this country. Correct. Correct.
A lot of power in the party. Unbelievably.
A lot of power. Oh, yeah. Hey,
So,
guys. Hey, guys. The squad, the 5 or 6 people in the squad, ton of power, okay? Ton of power. Lot of influence.
You have to hate America if you want to improve it. If you're proposing things to improve the country, to change the country a little bit, to evolve the country, that has to come from a place of hatred. You hate the country, and you're actually trying to make it worse. You're not trying to make it better.
Right.
This is a news program, by the way, that gets treated favorably by the YouTube algorithm, whereas my show gets obliterated by the YouTube algorithm, and my show doesn't get spread to new people almost at all.
They act like there's not a large handful of billionaires controlling everything.
But this
True.
stuff does. Fox News stuff does. MSNBC stuff does. CNN stuff does. The thing you just heard, the idiotic back and forth you just heard, where they said, oh, Ilhan must hate America because she wants to marginally improve it. That's favored by the YouTube algorithm and treated seriously.
Marginally.
So let's go through some of what they said there. By the way, this shows they don't know anything about politics, these people. It's amazing. Even what Ilhan said. Ilhan was like, oh, so now Biden's proposing this, even though this was left-wing proposals for a long time. Isn't it great that Biden's proposing these things? She says free pre-K, tax the rich, paid family leave, school meals, so on, free school meals, so on and so forth. No, that's the virtue signaling bill, because they're not going to try to get this through reconciliation, and that's certainly not going to be in there if they do try to get it through reconciliation. So that's Biden saying, I'm in favor of good things and against bad things. And then when it doesn't get in there, he'll go, oh, it's the big bad Republicans and Joe Manchin. They made it so we couldn't have those things. But no, he's proposing it as like pretending to be in favor of the amazing things, knowing it won't pass. If we had the votes right now for all those things, well, let me amend that a little bit. If we had the votes right now for the free pre-K, paid family leave...
His mouth, the mic is uncomfortably close to his mouth. Yeah, you have to really get up there. I actually don't blame him. I actually don't blame him. In like for these type of microphones, you have to get up right up there. And I do feel like it's a little bit weird because he has like a lapel mic, so I'm not sure which one is catching the sound. But yeah, for these type of mics, has anybody watched Dirtbag? Has anybody sat and watched Dirtbag stream? Which I highly recommend you follow. He's got this exact same mic, and he has to get right up on it. So I don't blame him. Hey, Jesse, how's it going? Hey, Brad Blaze, how's it going? Dirtbag is a cool cat. Yeah, Dirtbag is incredibly chill. Like you can go into Dirtbag's stream and you can just hang out there. Okay, you don't even have to do anything. You just hang out there and you get that very cool chill vibes, especially when he plays Valheim. I have one and I have to be right up on it, but it's a great sound. Drew.
Things, then he wouldn't be saying he's in favor of it, because he's not in favor of it, and he knows that if he could get it, he wouldn't push it. Now he knows he can't get it, so he's pushing it, pretending he's in favor of it. I think for tax the rich, he does want to raise taxes on the rich a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. And the free school meals, he probably actually is in favor of, but a lot of the things on that list, he's just pretending to be in favor of, and
now,
the left is falling for it.
Well, hold on, I don't know necessarily. I do believe that a lot of what Biden is a lot of talk and a lot of rhetoric, but I also think that he's doing it because he's, to a degree, feeling some pressure. Not enough, but some pressure to at least say some things like, hey, maybe we should be moving towards like some type of higher education. Hey, maybe we should be making sure that kids have lunch in school. You know, I think that it is indicative that there is some pressure, but not enough. You had some strange takes on the Ruel situation. Did they ever pass that 10K loan refund? I have no idea. Ruel situation. Not yet. Okay, there you go. So basically, again, understand that Biden is going to more or less shift with the political wins. So we have to, if we want to get anything, we have to continue to put pressure on the Biden administration to get any concessions if we get anything, okay? If we get anything. If
It's like when Biden said he's in favor of the $15 minimum wage, and he could have taken the fight on of the 8 Senate Democrats who were against it, but he didn't. He chose not to do it. And he chose not to do it because even though he believes in it, it wasn't enough to really fight for it. He did it. He believed in it enough to do the executive order for the federal workers, the federal contract workers and federal government workers.
although I think Biden could have done more for the $15 minimum wage, I honestly think that was on Schumer, I believe. Couldn't he, as the Senate Majority Leader, overrode the parliamentarian? Was it the Senate Majority Leader, or was it Senate Majority Leader or the Vice President who could override the parliamentarian? The VP. Okay, so this one is on Harris. Not override, but like not take into consideration the advice of, yeah, there you go, Memo. So just to be sure, just to be clear, so this one is actually on Kamala Harris. She could have just not taken the parliamentarians' recommendations. So that even though Biden could have pushed for it more, I think that this one we can squarely we know who to put the blame on in that situation.
He believed in it enough to do it, and I give him massive credit for that. But he didn't believe in it enough to fight for it against the 8 Democrats who were standing in the way at the federal level.
President Joe Manchin.
So they fought, like, they're suckers a little bit for the messaging of the bill. You know what I mean? Like, they actually think Biden really, is one of you guys? It's nonsense. Of course he's not. So it's not even true that Biden really is in line with these people. But the whole premise of the Fox segment is, Biden's exactly like Ilhan Omar, see? Far left, taking over the party. They know nothing about politics. Then we get into the big...
Oh, yeah. Far left means when you want to give people free education. Gotcha. I mean, geez. If that is not indicative of the type of Overton window that we're facing right now, it's wild.
By the way, a guy in a really thick accent saying, why doesn't Ilhan go back to her country? My dude, you barely were able to get that out in coherent English. And you want to tell somebody else to go back to their country? And then I love how he thinks like, oh, as long as you never criticize America, then America loves you and accepts you. Okay, well, I'm American. I was born here. My parents were born here. I'm as American as apple pie. And I much prefer Ilhan being here because she's trying to improve the country, whereas your position is this sycophantic bullshit of like, America never does any wrong, and if you ever criticize it, you hate it. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So I'm not supposed to call out the rampant corruption and the billionaires owning our system and corporations running our system.
That's right,
I'm not
Kyle.
supposed to call out the endless wars.
Nope.
I'm not supposed to do any criticism at all because you equate that with hating America. I mean, it's go back to your country. I could barely understand that in English, man. Could you repeat that? Go back to your country. I mean, listen, that is bigotry. That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's what that is. You don't agree with her politics, and so you're like, oh, you're not American
I
enough,
like that
so
emote.
go back to your
Where's
country.
this from?
But I'm super American, even though I can
Lady
barely speak English. I'm
over
super
Tegan?
American because I agree with Republicans on 100% of things. That doesn't make you more American. That makes you a simpleton.
That makes you a partisan hack.
And then we have, he says that she is betraying the country that accepted us. It's not betraying the country to try to improve it. Trying to improve it is helping the country and helping the people of the country.
Right.
But the biggest thing I have issue with, he says, well, she came to this country for freedom, and now she's like destroying that freedom. The exact opposite is true. I would argue all of those policies she listed there are pro-freedom policies.
Right. So I think we can get the TLDR from that. Basically what I was saying. Oh, nice. I love this Pikachu one. Ooh. the sea lion one kind of, I don't know who has the better sea lion, Wiz or Lady Overston. French fries are arguably originally from Belgium. I did not know that. Wiz is way better, you think so? I don't know, I like them. So Belgian fries, am I right? No. They're freedom fries, okay? Freedom fries. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, TLDR, this is horrible, and trying to improve this country, even by the most marginable, possibilities, is not trying to implement communism, is not trying to take away your freedoms, none of that, okay? This is fear-mongering 101, propaganda 101 to keep people aligned with the status quo. That's just what it is, okay? And then have the audacity to just be like, well, go back to your country. Unbelievable. It would be cool if they implement communism, though. I really doubt that the way we're set up, I really doubt that we would even get close. Although I would admit something. I think like Professor Wolf said something to the extent of, well, the fact that at least in his mind, the fact that he even was having the discussion, not that it was good or bad or whatever, but the fact that he was even having the discussion with Destiny is indicative of maybe a shift. Although I don't know if that's going to pan out or not, but it's all manufacturing consent, staging politics. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of these like talking heads, yeah, that's what they are. A shift has been happening slowly on the internet. The lefties are waking up. Yeah, but like, what does that translate to, right? Oh, I'm looking in the wrong chat room. Hold on, folks. Okay, here we are. The sooner it collapses, the better. I don't think it will, though. Well, not in any time soon, to be quite honest. I don't think that's happening. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but not in our lifetime. I think that what we can do is plant the seeds to make this a better place within the time that we have, within the levers that we can still press. Right? That should be our goal. That should be our goal. To do what we can within the time that we have, within the levers that we have that we can press, right? Any movement that's mainstream is destined to fail. And Kapistan. Mainstream in this instance, meaning being pushed by larger corporations. Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't think that the larger corporations are going to be on board with this, and I would say that one of the better tactics or strategies, I think a strategy would be to build alternatives and show people that it works. Okay? Build alternatives and show people that it works. I mean, that's as much as I can think about, like, because like I do believe in like a more democratic system in all sense of the word. I think that we can improve and we can make this a better place, but in order for us to be successful, I think that we need to show results, right? And I think that one of the better ways is to build that alternative system, show by pushing for like pilot programs for worker co-ops. Get some of these funded. Get some worker co-op set up. Get some data. Show that it works. We should create intentional communities. What I think we should do is within our purview, we should push for example, I think somebody suggested that we can maybe push credit unions to have pilot programs that specifically allow for worker co-ops, because a lot of the issues when you come for funding is that they don't really fund worker co-ops. A lot of these like business loans, a lot of these business loans are favoring the traditional business model, right? But why don't we implement a pilot program for a couple of years that says, hey, if you want to start a worker co-op, we got you. We got you. And prove that it works. Just as simple as that. Basically embrace Skynet. The resource movement in Canada is working on stuff like this. Right, okay. That's cool, Memmius. What happened with Trump and Facebook? Supposedly they denied his unbanning. To give you the TLDR. Now, I think that we should implement public housing programs like Finland, where we make sure that people have housing and without any type of like strings attached. People have housing, those that need it get housing, get access to the tools that they need. Why don't we do that? Not like hasn't been done before. These are things that we can do. Absolutely. Right now. These are things that we can do right now. We can move towards a universal healthcare system. We can do that right now. Somebody asked, how do we organize in terms of like putting pressure? That comes with getting together with your community and just talking to people. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Divornimus. Now, let's turn our attention to Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani reportedly looks to Donald Trump to fund his legal defense after FBI raids. So wait a minute. The lawyer is now asking his former client for money. With a federal investigation into Rudy Giuliani... You can't make this stuff up, folks. With a federal investigation into Rudy Giuliani intensifying in the recent weeks, advisors to the former New York City mayor have been pushing for former President Trump to foot the mounting bill for Giuliani's legal defense team as compensation for his contributions to several unsuccessful lawsuits to overturn the 2020 election. Wait. So you want to be funded for your screw-ups, your alleged crimes. You want Trump to foot the bills for your alleged crimes, and your reasoning is, well, I contributed to a myriad of unsuccessful lawsuits. You didn't even do those right. You didn't even produce a single serious legal win. You didn't even produce a serious legal win. Why would anybody pay you? Like, that's not the logic that you need to be using. Oh yeah, Donald Trump can absolutely fund his legal fees if he wanted to. I'm creating an IWW group in my city, and we're not only going to try and unionize, but work for food sovereignty and stuff. Yeah, so again, that is a good example, Wing. So you get together with your community, you talk to people, and make plans like this. Yeah, exactly like that, Wing. And you can apply that to getting people aware of climate change, getting people aware of like, hey, maybe we can put petitions up for healthcare. Giuliani, the stupid Nosferatu. Trump got like 800k for his golf courses. He can foot Rudy's bill. True. According to the report, which was sourced to only several people familiar with the discussions, Giuliani's camp has turned up pressure on Trump aides since federal investigators last week executed a search warrant on Giuliani's Manhattan apartment and seized several of his electronic devices. Yeah, I think that this guy is going down. The investigation into Giuliani stems from Giuliani's business dealings in Ukraine that, hey, remember when, like, everybody was saying, like, oh, you know, they're just blowing up the whole Ukraine business. There's nothing here. They did the entire thing, the impeachment over nothing, blah, blah, blah. Nothing ever happened. Turns out, well, something did. Stems from Giuliani's business dealings in Ukraine that placed him at the center of systematic efforts to oust former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, just before Trump's first impeachment investigation in 2019. Giuliani's conduct in Ukraine came into focus during the prosecution of its former associates Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman. Parnas later cooperated with House investigators, sharing thousands of files implicating Giuliani in Jovanovic termination. Yeah, so clearly some shady stuff. Nothing going on here. I think it's also funny that Donald Trump refused to pay any of his legal fees, as if he has paid anybody for their work. I just found this to be a funny headline, just a insight into the implosion. If you don't pay them, then the charges don't stick. True. Hey, Sourcing, how's it going? Like, this could be an Onion article. This could be an Onion headline. So, in lieu of in lieu, okay, we're just gonna spend just a couple of moments on this. Okay, we're not gonna we're not gonna indulge on this too much because it's really, at the end of the day, nonsense. Nobody cares. Okay, but I do find it funny, just how like pathetic and big mad this guy is from being yeeted off Twitter to the point where he created his own entire website just so that he can tweet. I mean, the guy is obsessed. It shows like the narcissism. I mean, he literally created a website just like Twitter. It's literally just like Twitter, where he can tweet out his ramblings. And of course his supporters from his cult can go and like it and share it. Oh yeah, good catch, Cal. Good catch. And nobody can reply just like he likes it. Correct. No one can go up against the dear leader. I mean, you could share it. You could share it on Twitter and then like respond that way, but he's not on Twitter, so nobody's gonna see it. Nobody that he cares is gonna see it. So now he can tweet to his heart's content on his own personal website. Look at that. You know, I also find that that's kind of weird. Like, he's actually having a platform. He's actually tweeting on his own website. That's really weird. I thought like he was crying about how they were trying to silence him and blah 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 blah. Sounds like he's perfectly able to exercise his freedom of speech. It's like his own live journal. True. Oh yeah, true. Now he can be as racist as he wants to, and nobody can kick him out. It's his own website. Look at that. Isn't that nice? This was 2 days ago, by the way. The guy is still molding. It's May. Drop it, bro. It's May. It would still be funny if it ran on AWS since so many things are. True. Yeah, it's like his own live journal. I guess that's what happens when you go against freedom of speech. Bro. You built your entire, like, live journal / Twitter, by yourself. It's almost certainly running on AWS or Google Cloud. Interesting. I wonder how you could find out. Bezos, wherever you go, I'll be there. True. Alright, so I just thought that was funny. Okay, so this one, somebody asked me the other day if Ron DeSantis is gonna run. And I think so. I think so. I think he's preparing to run for the nomination of, the Republican nomination in 2024. So, yeah. It's something to look out for, definitely. Something to look out for, definitely. Ron DeSantis and Josh Hawley are trying to get a 2024 leg up by attacking big tech. The Florida governor is expected to sign a bill finding social media companies for deplatforming candidates, while Missouri senators drop a screed against tyranny. Drop his screed against tech tyranny. Shortly after Donald Trump's major social media accounts were banned, punitive measures enacted in response to him encouraging supporters to storm the U.S. Capitol, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis made his stance known. The big tech oligarchy is a clear and present danger to free speech, he warned. Now DeSantis' state is on the verge of passing a bill he proposed that would fine social media companies for willfully deplatforming political candidates. Now, needless to say, this is going to be borderline impossible to enforce. Needless to say, this is going to be borderline impossible to enforce. And I guarantee that this isn't going to last very long. The bill, which passed the House and Senate last week, and which DeSantis, who is seen as a 2024 presidential contender, is expected to sign, would dole out penalties of $250,000 a day for statewide candidates and $25,000 a day for other candidates. Oh, they don't care about that, Wing. What's more, platforms like Twitter and Facebook would be required to give users 1 week notice if their accounts are facing removal and allow them time to make changes to avert a ban. Now, I will say this. The terms of service of some of these social media companies are incredibly arbitrary. And I think that their terms of service should be explicit and applied equally across the board. Clearly, that's not the case. Some people get banned, and others stay up for doing the same or worse. So it's very arbitrary. They kind of do what they want on a whim, and I think that that's not good. I think terms of service should be explicit, clear, and applied across the board. So, sure. Tyrannical corporations, as per usual, they get it when it affects them. TOS should be easily readable. Yeah, I agree. TOS, terms of service, should be easy. Should be easy to understand and concise, clear, simple. Loki_War, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. If your TOS is more than 3 pages, it's too long. What this bill is about sending a loud message to Silicon Valley that they are not the absolute arbiters of truth. Nobody said that. Republican state lawmaker John Snyder said last week, what this bill does is send a loud message that the Constitution does not have an asterisk that says only certain speech is free and protected. Wait, but like... Okay. Florida lawmakers insist that the bill has nothing to do with Trump, who may very well find himself back online this week. Facebook's oversight board will announce Wednesday whether the 45th president can return to the platform, which I believe, if I'm correct, they said no. They said no. Yeah, they are the arbiters of their own platform. That is correct. It is also ripe for legal challenge from big tech companies who could cite the First Amendment in court. Yeah, like yeah, exactly. They could just turn this around and be like, hey, that's actually violating our First Amendment. Just as private media companies cannot be forced to publish speech they oppose, social media companies reserve the same rights. Steve Del Bianco, the CEO of advocacy organization Net Choice, testified against the bill in April, saying that imagine if the government required a church to allow user-created comments or third-party advertising to or third-party advertising promoting abortion on its social media page. That would just as that would violate the First Amendment, so too does this, since it would similarly force social media platforms to host content otherwise they would not allow. Corporations are people, according to Republicans. That's true. First Amendment law professor Howard Wasserman agreed, telling the Miami New Times there's no way they could enforce it, it's not even close. Twitter and Facebook are, and all of these are private. They have the right to decide who gets on and off their platform. Florida's bill is just one tentacle of the GOP's ongoing war against social media companies, which Missouri Senator Josh Hawley helpfully embodied with his upcoming book, The Tyranny of Big Tech. In it, according to an early review, Hawley warns that big tech and big government are seeking to extend their influence over every American life. I mean, that's kind of a weird perspective coming from someone who is a person in government. Like, wait, isn't that you? I don't get it. He also, according to the review, glosses over the bulk of the events in the 20th century. Like many on the right, Hawley, seen as a potential 2024 presidential candidate, recently introduced the Bust Up Big Tech Act, seemed to be predicating his political rise on conservative animosity towards Silicon Valley and how social media companies feed into the so-called quote-unquote cancel culture. Now, I don't know if Josh Hawley is going to run. But I do feel like he's just a little bit more adept and just a little bit more smarter than Ron DeSantis. So I would keep my eye out. After his book was booted by its original publisher, Simon & Schuster, due to Hawley's encouragement of the Capitol rioters, he has complained about the whole woke mob and portrayed himself as a free speech martyr. Yeah. That's correct. Spread it forward. That is correct. True. Spread it forward. Like many others attacked by corporations and the left, my real crime was to have challenged the reign of woke capitalist. Wait, what? Wait. Hold on. You can't claim that there's like a woke, that there's like a radical left, right? Oh, I see. Okay, he's making a distinguishing. Okay, I was about to say you can't be like, you can't say that there is a radical left and woke capitalist. This video is actually good.
Last month, the NewsHour brought you.
Okay, let me pause it. The senator wrote, yeah. And like many others attacked by the corporations and the left, Ollie's sense of irony seems to be wanting. True. The senator wrote promotional posts claiming that the corporate media and tech powers don't want you to read this book, as he promotes it on social media, as it's being sold on Amazon. Oh yeah, totally deplatformed. Totally, his complete freedom of speech has been violated, as he's selling his book on Amazon and advertising on social media. You can't make this up, folks. Hey, you did it. You figured out capitalism is bad.
Last month, the NewsHour brought you a series of stories looking at the future of work, including a report in which economics correspondent Paul Solman explored the seeming contradiction between the fear of job loss due to the rise of driverless trucks and the current shortage of truck drivers in America. Tonight, Paul takes a closer look at the life of one of those drivers and the state of his profession. It's part of his weekly series on economics, Making Sense.
So now, when did you first start driving?
1981.
You were how old?
21.
And why?
Why? Oh.
A man whose job may or may not be threatened by technology, long-haul truck driver Finn Murphy.
I was at Colby College.
Right.
And
Up in Maine.
Waterville, Maine. And then I'd come back to Connecticut in the summers and I'd work for Callahan Brothers Moving and Storage. I took a road trip with a driver, my first ride in a big truck. And it was amazing. Over the George Washington Bridge in a big truck, down Route 13 through Delaware, Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel into Virginia Beach. I had never been in the South before. I was seduced by it. I loved it. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to finish college.
And so Murphy got his commercial license and his career as a truck driver and professional mover of high-priced home furnishings. He's distilled the experience into a memoir, The Long Haul, A Trucker's Tales of Life on the Road, describing an odd job for a college kid whose father was a well-known illustrator, the cartoonist behind Prince Valiant.
After I told him I was leaving college after completing 3 years and was going to go work for North American Van Lines, he came down and he handed me a bill for 3 years of college and 3 years of rent and said, if this is the path that you choose, then you need to pay me back for the college that you've squandered.
What?
I never did pay him, and he never did ask me again.
But what drove a Colby kid from a literacy-laden family, Brother Cullen is editor-at-large of Vanity Fair, to hit the highways?
It can't just be the allure of the road. I mean,
Well, it was the work, too. Moving people's stuff is very fun and complicated and hard. I enjoyed the camaraderie of working with a group of men. I mean, that's how human beings lived for, 100,000 years. We all lived in small societies and we all did manual labor. And we all did it with, our brothers.
but there was a long period of time when you did not drive, right?
Correct. So I drove for 10 years in the 80s, and then I've been driving since 2009, so this 10 years now. So I've had 2 stints of 10 years.
And 20 years in between.
And 20 years in between.
In those 2 decades, he and his wife started a successful cashmere importing business, and Murphy became a city councilman in Nantucket. That life fell apart when his marriage did, so he dusted off his commercial driver's license and got back on the road.
See, the thing is, when you're a long-haul driver, you get to leave a whole bunch of stuff behind you. You know, when I climb up into the truck and I turn on this engine and I know I'm going to be gone for 4 months, I don't have to think about things. And there's a lot of guys like me out there that, you know, are running away from situations or bankruptcy or bad relationships or many things. This is a great way to be out on the lam and still get paid.
Driving again and helping move people and their possessions around the country, Murphy salvaged a sense of purpose.
And I was making a ton of money because all I was doing was high-end executive relocation. So I'm moving all these rich execs.
How much were you making a year? How much do you make a year?
Well, if I work 50 weeks a year, I can make a couple $100,000.
But that's the absolute high end of...
It's the high end of trucking. It's the high end of trucking. A furniture mover who's doing corporate relocation is going to be the high end, yeah.
But what does a typical trucker make?
You know, I think the average is about, you know, $36,000 to $40,000 a year. And that's for a guy who's getting paid by the mile. He could be gone for months at a time. This isn't a, you know, highly skilled or a highly paying job at all. So I read The Economist every week. I'm probably the only long-haul driver who reads The Economist every week. And this is a conundrum right now in today's labor market, which is,
Yes.
you know, we're at 3.9% unemployment, but wages are stagnant.
Indeed, wages have barely kept up with inflation in the past year. For truckers, as for so many in jobs that aren't highly skilled, they've fared far worse for decades.
You know, compared to what this industry paid in the 1970s, we're way behind the 8 ball because this was a solid middle-class job back then, even into the 1980s. And now it's a poverty profession.
And why was it so well paying back then?
It was unionized and you had freight rates, you had a regulated freight market that was regulated by the federal government, just like the airlines. This all happened in the Motor Carrier Act of 1935 with FDR because all the trucking companies were going out of business.
And this is when he propped up prices.
Exactly. He did it with the airlines, he did it with the trucking business, he did it with the railroads, and that's why these were middle-class jobs, because you had the management and unions working together because the prices were fixed.
And then that was deregulated first under Jimmy Carter, at least the airlines were.
Yes. Started
And
with Jimmy Carter
then-
and trucking, and it was finished up by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah,
But of course
hey,
that means it's cheaper for the consumer, right?
It was a great consumer benefit. Freight rates fell almost overnight. And this is the question. This is the question that everybody needs to ask as a citizen of any place, which is, how much money do you want to save at the expense of good jobs, community character? You know, we all have our $9 sneakers from Walmart now. That's great. But in order to get those $9 sneakers, we had to export all of our manufacturing. So now we don't have good jobs, but we have $9 sneakers.
Based trucker guy. Hey KTS, there wasn't a live announcement on the Discord. Oh. Yikes. Oops. Alright, well I just posted it myself. Trading short-term games for long-term societal destruction. Yep. Hey KTS. Morning.
Is that a good trade-off? My opinion, no.
Well, a lot of Americans seem to agree with you. I mean, that is a lot of the impetus behind Donald Trump's Make America Great Again, right?
It is, and you know, I certainly wouldn't want to be cast into the Trump camp, and I don't care who knows it. But you know, 250 million people have been taken out of poverty in the last 30 years in the Far East and in other places, and a lot of that has to do with free trade and the decisions that countries like the United States have made, and I think that's great. But you know, we need to keep our eye on the ball about, you know, our own people, and you know, the middle class has been hollowed out in the United States. Certainly in the trucking business, and I'm not an expert on anything else, but this is not a middle-class job anymore.
Well, it's a middle-class job for somebody like you.
It's an upper-class job for somebody
Hey,
like me.
political
Yeah, yeah.
talks.
Well, it's an upper-class income. It's still not an upper-class job.
For the PBS NewsHour, this is economics correspondent Paul.
Yeah, it's really funny because, like, I'm pretty sure that he basically, he basically, like, pseudo that, like, oh yeah, you know, this is the thing with Trump, but, like, you do realize that it was that type of mentality, and you admit, just seconds before, that it was Reagan who destroyed your industry, well, in terms of jobs, right? It was Reagan, it was the Republicans. He just said America is responsible for China eliminating poverty. Now what, did we take the W for that? We took the W for that too? All right, let's get into some serious politics, some serious I read Politico, some serious headlines here. That was pretty good. That guy was definitely somewhat speaking truth, and I used to actually have The Economist at one point. My girlfriend used to have a subscription to it, I should say. But this is something that is incredibly important, and I think people need to realize what's about to happen. Millions of renters brace for a post-pandemic axe. The pandemic crisis is finally winding down for much of the country, with both vaccinations and the economy surging. Now, I will note this, that even though our vaccination rates have been good, there has been indications that they are starting to plateau. That is not good. With both vaccinations and the economy surging, but the COVID-19 housing crisis hasn't even hit yet. And Washington's efforts to head it off have stalled. A federal moratorium on evictions is set to expire June 30th, leaving millions of tenants facing long-term damage to their credit and potential loss of their homes if they can't scrape together more than a year's worth of back rent. When this back rent hits, if they don't do something about this, when this back rent hits, it's going to be really bad. Now, the Biden administration is racing to end a bottleneck that has prevented state and local governments from distributing nearly $50 billion in rental assistance that Congress had allocated to keep those tenants from going over a financial cliff. While it is positive that large numbers of hard-pressed renters are now getting relief, it's not close to okay that there are places where help is not moving fast enough. Gene Sperling, a senior advisor to the president and White House and the White House's point person on coordinated relief efforts. And that is why we will soon announce new stepped up efforts to get relief to renters most in need. I mean, how did they not, from the beginning, we knew that the Trump administration completely fumbled and dropped the ball on this one. But one of the biggest problems, and I think we've even brought this up, is the housing crisis, the looming housing crisis that hasn't, I mean, they've been kicking the can down the road for a couple of months now. They've been kicking the can down the road a couple of months now, but they need to do something about this back rent. White House officials said they would be releasing more information in the coming weeks. The disruption in housing relief is the latest example of bureaucratic chaos impeding Washington's sprawling COVID-19 economic rescue. An effort to help millions struggling small businesses to provide forgivable loans has repeatedly run into problems, and similar snags plagued attempts to distribute enhanced unemployment benefits. Nearly all of the more than $46 billion Congress set aside for rent relief over the last 4 months have been distributed to state and local governments to disperse to residents in need, with the remaining funds required to go out by May 10th. But very little of that money has actually reached distressed tenants and their landlords, many of whom are hurting for cash because of the crisis. There's 70 million empty homes, 600,000 homeless people, and so the homes should be as cheap as candy. Yeah, but that's not how that works with housing. This is just a planned move to ensure people demand that we give bailouts to landlords, leave people hang out to dry, then wait for them to ask for the fact to pay off the back rent. Win for the oligarchs, and we ask for it. Thanks for the follow, Farms for President. Yeah, so what you're saying is, like, the winner would be, of course, the big landlords, right? Are you okay, Farms for President? The housing crisis is unique because it's the result of government programs, rising taxes, people leaving states like California, and rising prices of everything in general. True. This truck in some sort of 50 state, maybe 1,000 county morass, said Jerry Howard, CEO of National Association of Home Builders, which has sued to overturn the eviction ban on behalf of its landlord members. You have private citizens who are still obligated to pay their mortgages and the operations of these apartment buildings, and they're not even able to break even. To my knowledge, I think that there is there has been plenty of mortgage forbearance. I don't know what they're talking about. Behind the impasse is the amount of time it has taken to access the federal government, the federal money. Hundreds of state and local governments had to set up systems to dole out the funds so that they could figure out who needs relief and verify how much they owe, and to make sure the assistance gets to landlords. Yeah, political talks. One of the solutions that I've said is the government could implement some type of government buyback. That is a possibility that we could do. We could do it right now. We're wasting all these billions of dollars, and so little of it goes to actually relieving some of these issues. Yeah, one of the solutions that I've proposed is some type of government buyback for these empty properties. Yeah. And just to be clear, I would also be in favor of them making, and just to be clear, in all areas, it has always been cheaper to just solve homelessness. It has always been cheaper to just solve homelessness. The rich make a killing on that buyback? Maybe. The amount of money that Biden increased the military budget by this year could have been used to eliminate homelessness. True. 100%. That is 100% true. If there are other developed countries who have figured this out, and it's just cheaper to end homelessness. It's just cheaper to make sure that people have a home and give the tools that they need. Why not just do it? Why are we the magical exception? Housing finance agencies had to hire new staff and contractors, and they had to create entirely new networks to move an enormous amount of money to millions of people who urgently needed it. Yeah, this sounds like a lot of extra steps. Yeah, that could be a solution, sourcing. Yeah. The TLDR is out of this article is that there is going to be, if we don't decide to fix this, there's going to be a homeless crisis. We've been talking about it for months, and the government has effectively kicked the can down the road repeatedly. But eventually, all of this is going to... all of this is going to come back, okay? Millions of people, like, to set up, like, this plan, like, for, what, over a year of back pay rent? How do you think that's going to work? Who has a year's worth of rent? Who has a year's worth of rent? Especially like the majority of that time, most of these people were unemployed. Most of these people were unemployed for a good chunk of that. So explain to me how all of a sudden they're gonna magically come up with a years. How are you going to expect that people are going to come up with a magical year's worth of back rent? That's a TLDR. Once this happens, that's right, sourcing. People can only take so much abuse before they stop caring. Right. We're in a situation if things continue where you're gonna leave people with nothing. If you don't start fixing the real root issues, a large group of people with nothing to lose is dangerous. Yeah, I mean, if this is the path that that they want to set us on, they will only have themselves to blame. If this is the path they want to set us on, they will only have themselves to blame. tens of millions of people kicked out of their homes, while a handful continue to get richer and richer to the tune of billions. Government useless. There's already a law. This place is filled with Tinder. This place is filled with Tinder. And I don't mean the dating app. And swipe left on capitalism. Blaming everything on lazy people who won't go back to work for nothing for an hour. Oh, I see. For nothing an hour. Yeah, true. Wait, but isn't that just the market working as intended? Where are those people who are like, well, if you don't like it, you can just work somewhere else. And then surprise Pikachu face when nobody wants to work for your like $2 an hour tip job. Yeah, they don't seem to understand how the system they advocate for actually works. True. Gotta go. Cheers, comrades. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I suspect that this is going to be a huge problem. That they need to fix like now. Former content warning. Okay, CW content warning. Former Oregon House Speaker arrested in sex trafficking sting. A former Democratic Speaker of the Oregon's House of Representatives was arrested last month in a sex trafficking sting, police said. David Hunt, 53, was one of 8 men arrested in April in an operation that included police officers posting decoy ads online, Portland police said. Hunt is accused of responding to the ads to arrange payment for sexual acts, according to police. He has been charged with commercial sexual solicitation, a misdemeanor. Hunt denies the allegations, but respects the criminal justice process and will refrain from saying more until he has his opportunity in court. Hunt serves on the board of Clackamas Community College, which said on Twitter that he is taking leave effective Monday. He's a registered lobbyist in Salem B. In Salem from 2009 to 2011, where he served as Speaker of the House. Before that, he served one term as a House Majority Leader. Only people posting memes like this are people who don't own small businesses. Not just corporate is suffering, so are small businesses, I guess. And it's not good because they don't pay well. And it's not because they don't pay well or provide good benefits. I suppose that depends on how one defines paying well. Apparently not well enough. Yeah, so the meme being like, if you are if you're molding, if you're big mad that that employees are leaving, not showing up for work, or are making more on unemployment, that is a verdict on you. That is a verdict on you. You're not paying enough. Okay? Just to be clear, unemployment is not some massive like, oh yeah, no, these workers are living like kings. Okay? Unemployment is at best barely minimum wage. Of course, the federal government provided a expansion on that for a little bit, but unemployment isn't a lot. Unemployment payment isn't a lot, okay? So if they're making more on unemployment, that's a verdict on you. You're not paying enough. Hey Armeens, how's it going? How's it going? Big mold. Yeah, like you can't complain that employees are making more on unemployment when you pay like starvation poverty wages. If you can't pay your employees properly, if you can't pay your employees a living wage, you should not be in business. If you can't account for that, that is a you problem. Okay? And if employees aren't showing up for work because you pay like crap, and it's actually better to be on unemployment, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. This is why I want strong federal jobs programs that pay 2 times the minimum wage that these asshats try to compete with good government jobs. Hey, wait. Oh, good lord. There's somebody, there's been like a couple of conservatives who have said that the government doesn't create jobs. Okay? One of them being Ben Shapibo. Okay? Alio coming in hot with the 14 biddies, thank you so much. If a company isn't successful enough to pay more than $7.25 an hour, it really just isn't that successful and isn't much value to add to society. True. I mean, to be quite honest, $7.25 is embarrassingly low. It is embarrassingly low. But that's a good point, sourcing. A great point. I would argue that's one of the benefits of the Green New Deal. If you want to build up the infrastructure of this country, I think that that's a perfect way to do it while creating good, jobs. And it's unbelievable that people get big mad over that without having some introspection and realizing, like, wait, hold on, unemployment isn't really that much, and I'm not even paying enough to compete with unemployment. They just invent your own company, while the Fox, OANN, and Newsmax just blame Biden. It's a strategy old as time. It's a strategy old as time. But yeah, this guy is ooh, this guy's probably going to jail. Watch the Democrats ignore all the evidence and rally around David Hunt and this witch hunt. Oh wait, no, that's only the Republicans who have no ethics. True, that's a very good point. I mean, look at what's happening with Matt Gaetz, right? Matt Gaetz is still there. Matt Gaetz hasn't stepped down. He hasn't said like, oh, you know, we'll let the legal system do its thing. He also stepped down from his position on the board of Clackamas Community College. I would also like to point out that the Democratic was it the Democratic chair? It was a Democratic chair or someone in position of Democratic leadership in a state stepped down after backlash for calling Tim Scott a racial slur. He stepped down out of Democratic leadership for that. Listen, I don't like Tim Scott's politics. I thought that the Republican response to the presidential address was embarrassing. That doesn't mean it's okay to call Tim Scott that word. Hey. How's it going? Is sex trafficking the same as prostitution? No, I don't think so. Not that I know. Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if they're the same. I mean, by definition, they are two different terms. By definition, they're two different terms, so they must mean something different. Okay, folks, main event. How to identify and combat this type of nonsense, okay? That's what we're gonna look at and dissect here. How do we combat and understand the counter narrative, the BS that's being thrown at us, okay, when it comes to climate change? I'm gonna take a second to show for myself. If you guys enjoyed the content, please hit that follow button. Head on over to the YouTubes and hit that subscribe button. Hit the like the stream, all that awesome stuff. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics. Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and on Saturdays we do Saturday Catterdays. This Sunday, we are going to we're going to try to have a community movie night on Discord, so make sure you join that. Okay, let's have some fun, right? And of course, if you want to support the channel, there are a myriad of different ways you can sub. There's Amazon Prime, biddies, merch, donos, all that awesome stuff. Your support is what makes this channel go. I will be right back, and we're gonna dive into this. Spoiler alert, this is nonsense. Okay. Needless to say, the National Review is a pretty right-wing publication. The problem with this is that it shows up on people's feeds, okay? This stuff shows up on people's feeds. Questioning the climate change narrative. What do the research literature and government reports actually say about human-induced climate change and its consequences? Alright. We're all supposed to know what the science says. The science is settled. I mean, it is. How many times have you heard it? Also, I'd like to point out that this guy is a he is a scientist who worked with BP and the Obama administration. Just to preface that. Humans have already broken the Earth's climate. Temperatures are rising. Sea level is surging. True. I see no lies detected. Ice is disappearing. True. Well, the Earth isn't necessarily completely doomed. Okay, we are. And life as we know it will be completely changed. And of course, he goes on to being like, wow, Not quite. Yes, it's true the globe is warming, and the globe is warming. Okay, so admission that climate change is real and that humans are exerting a warming influence upon it. That is a very, very charitable phrasing. That is a very charitable phrasing. But beyond that, to paraphrase the classic movie The Princess Bride, I do not think the science says what you think it says. And this really frustrates me. This passes as legitimate. This passes as legitimate because this guy is an academic. Okay? It passes as legitimate because this guy is an academic. Except this guy worked for BP, folks. And he worked for the Obama administration, which we all know was very, very good on climate change. For example, both the research literature and the government reports that summarize and assess the state of climate science clearly say that the heat waves in the US are now no more common than they were in 1900s. What is this like? Okay, so I'll explain. And that the warmest temperature in the US has not risen in the past 50 years. When I tell people this, most are incredulous, some gasp, and some get downright hostile. But these are almost certainly not the only climate facts you haven't heard. There are 3 more that might surprise you, drawn directly from recently published research or the latest assessment of climate science published by the US government and the UN. 1. Humans have no detectable impact on hurricanes over the past century. 2. Greenland's ice sheet isn't shrinking any more rapidly today than it was 80 years ago. 3. The net economic impact of human-induced climate change will be minimal through at least the end of the century. Can anybody tell me what the problem is here? Can anybody tell me what the problem is here? Can anybody tell me what the issue is here? Holy picking at straws, Batman. Imagine having to make your argument cherry picking the first of all, first of all, this doesn't go any further than this. In terms of like trying to make the argument, he just posts these 3 bullet points. And second of all, if you have to dig this deep, if you have to grasp at this tiny straws, I'd like to point out that number 1, humans have had no detectable impact of hurricanes over the past century. What? Wait. That is some seriously pedantic phrasing of that. Humans don't impact hurricanes. Humans impact climate, which impacts hurricanes. If this was true for the sake of conversation, wouldn't it still be beneficial to risk climate change to wipe out so many animals in the environment? True. Second of all, Greenland's so look at the phrasing. Greenland's ice sheet isn't shrinking any more rapidly. Not that it isn't shrinking than it was 80 years ago. Also, I would also like to point out that Greenland isn't the only ice sheet. It takes 2 seconds to be like, I mean, even if that is true, Greenland isn't the only ice sheet in the planet. Just saying. This is completely misleading. Yeah, these are some energy tycoon Jedi mind tricks. Okay. Greenland isn't the only ice sheet. First of all, the net economic impact of human-induced climate change will be minimal through at least the end of this century. So you see how they have to like couch that. Will be minimal to the end of this century. A published study in 2016 by researchers from the University of Florida, Canada, and Netherlands used gray satellite data to estimate freshwater flux from Greenland. They concluded that freshwater runoff is accelerating and could eventually cause a disruption of AMOC in the future, which would affect Europe and North America. On 13 August of 2020, Communication Earth and Environment Natural Research Journal published a study on dynamic ice loss from the Greenland ice sheet driven by sustained glacier retreat. The situation was described as being part of the point of no return and attributed to two factors: increased surface meltwater runoff and ablation of marine terminating outlet glaciers via calving and submarine melting, termed ice discharge. Yeah, and again, even if this is correct, okay, because he's not even denying the fact that it's happening. He's just claiming, he's making the claim that, oh, it's not going any more faster than it was 80 years ago. First of all, there has been multiple research on this, so no. And second of all, even if that is true, Greenland isn't the only ice sheet. There are more ice sheets in the planet. As if this absolves everything. Like, oh yeah, hey, we found the one situation. Like, no, dude, that is completely misleading and highly disingenuous. And what does that have to do with anything? First of all, you see how he has to like couch it in this word at the end of this century. The end of this century is in about 70 something years. Yeah, we know that. Do you know what happens if we don't solve this issue? Do you know what happens if we don't solve this issue? We're looking at catastrophe. Okay. If you want to talk about the net economic impact, and he uses the term net, okay, that's also to be noted. The phrasing of this is just so disingenuous, and it passes as legitimate because this guy is an academic. These are cherry-picked. These are completely misleading. And worst of all, being purported by a scientist or an academic. And here's his conclusion, folks. Are you ready? Yet contrary to popular belief, even the official assessment reports indicate significant human-induced climate change would have negligible net economic impact on either the world or US economies by the end of the century. That was his point. That was his point. Hey folks, it's okay. Guys, it's okay. Significant human-induced climate change, which it's okay. It's just a negligible net impact on the economy. It's okay. BP should be allowed to continue. BP should be allowed to continue. There's no problems with the fossil fuel industry. Because at the end of the day, by the end of the century, he puts that caveat there. By the end of the century, it's gonna have a negligible net impact on the economy. Net. We will offset these externalities on the consumer. Yeah, but even then, like, I don't think they realize what this means. This is horrifying. Most scientists, literature out there is calling Greenland the canary in the coal mine. Yeah, I would not be surprised. My problem with this entire thing is that A, it's incredibly misleading. Incredibly cherry-picked. And worst of all, passed as legitimate. Because this guy is a academic. He's only interested in proving the point that significant human-induced climate change would have a negligible net economic impact. That's what his study was for. Significant human-induced climate change. So even in this, we acknowledge that there is significant human-induced climate change. What his point is, and what he cares about, is how that would affect the economic impact. However, that is not going to take into account what happens should we continue down this path. Okay? That is not going to take into account what happens if we continue down this path. It's going to be great for the water market. Imagine. Because even this guy can't dismiss the fact that we have a significant hand in this. But his entire argument, prefaced with cherry-picked and misleading information, his entire thesis is saying, oh well, this is just going to have a negligible impact on the economy by the end of this century. Okay, that's 79 years. That's not a lot of time. And then what happens? And then what happens? And then what happens? We're already seeing areas devastated to the tune of billions. We're already seeing areas devastated to the tune of billions because of climate change. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that this is going to be taken seriously. The entire premise of this article is just to say, well, economically speaking, at the end of the century, it's not really that big of a deal, folks. Quit your alarmism. And prefacing this entire thing, with BS. Even the headline is already charged to paint. Even the headline is already charged to paint a specific picture. Okay? Even the headline is charged is put in a specific way to paint a picture. Okay? Questioning the climate change narrative. What do you think to people who barely like read past the headlines or read past the first paragraph? What is this invoking? What is this invoking? You know what it invokes? Huh. Maybe climate change isn't real. When in reality, first of all, that's not what he's saying. And second of all, his main problem is the economic impact, which he fails to really go into either way. August of 2020. Scientists studied data on 234 glaciers across the Arctic territory spanning 34 years through 2018 and found that annual snowfall was no longer enough to replenish glaciers of the snow, and ice being lost to summertime melting. The fall of Greenland. So here's the argument. If all of Greenland's ice goes, the water release would push sea levels above by an average 6 meters, enough to swamp many coastal cities around the world. This process, however, could take decades. Okay? See, argument is, it could take decades, right? And then what? And then what? Press X to doubt. Greenland's going to be the canary in the coal mine, and the canary's already pretty much dead at this point. I mean... So when you look at things like this, I highly recommend that you focus on what it's saying, who the source is. Okay, when you read or when you see somebody reading stuff like this, who's the source? Who's writing this? Where are they getting their data from? Look at the wording. And look how he prefaces this entire thing, along with the very charged headline. Along with the very charged headline that doesn't even have anything to do with his thesis. Now, how would we rewrite this to accurately reflect what's happening? Well, first of all, I wouldn't include all those nonsense charged cherry-picked data terms and some of them disproven. Second of all, we're not questioning the climate change narrative. The wording should be, what will be the economic impact of climate change? And even though official assessment reports indicate significant human-induced climate change would have negligible net economic impact on either world or U.S. economies by the end of this century, failure to do anything about this will, first of all, speed up the time frame. Second of all, once that time is up, the economic impact will be catastrophic. Okay? Will be catastrophic. The way we produce food will be changed or unavailable. The way we obtain water will be unavailable. Not in that sense. What's going to happen when all the coastal cities are gone? You might want to factor that into your economic impact if this continues. He doesn't tell you the flip side of this, right? He doesn't tell you the flip side of what happens if we don't turn the ship around, right? He doesn't tell you that if this doesn't change, the economic impact will be catastrophic. What he's saying is, for now, we're good. That's not an argument, okay? saying for now we're okay. For now, BP can continue doing what they're doing. For now, oil companies can do what they're doing. We don't even have to worry about it till the end of the century. And then what? How do you even know we have that if you continue to accelerate it? We may not even have this time frame. Okay? We need intelligent people with a lot of time on their hands. What we need is political will from leadership to address this. What we need is political will from our leaders to address this, to step up and say we're gonna solve this problem. Here's what we're gonna do, and then build an international coalition and say, hey, this is what we need to do. How can we help? Hey, Mr. Shackman. What did I say? I said to address climate change, one of the things that we need to do is have the political will to address this problem. We need to have the political will to implement plans, address this issue, and then build an international coalition and say, this is what we did, this is what we can do, and how can we help? Biden talks a lot about that in his speech to Congress. Well, he's talked a lot about that. My problem is I don't trust, until I see action, I have a very, very hard time trusting what he says, especially after John Kerry said that something to do with the free market will fix climate change. Or he said government can't fix climate change, I think was his quote. Like, bro, you're in government. You were appointed the international climate guy. What are you talking about? So anyways, my point being is I have a hard time trusting this administration, and I would like to see action. I would like to see what he's going to do. I would like to see plans being rolled out. I would like to see plans being rolled out. And you can understand my skepticism, right? I hope you understand my skepticism. I hope you understand that I really, really do not think that this administration is going to do the necessary actions, right? Now, that doesn't mean I'm still not. That doesn't mean I'm gonna not try, but I'm just hesitant and skeptical, and I don't trust this administration in terms of climate change. What would you suggest he do? I suggest he start rolling out programs. One of the good programs is an immense, seriously roll this out. An immense green infrastructure program. Take away the subsidies from oil. That's something that he could do. Strengthen the Environmental Protection Agency. Give it more teeth. Begin to move away from our reliance of fossil fuels by implementing renewable energy, which probably goes into what I just said about like building green infrastructure and getting ourselves off fossil fuels. And then export that, and then export that. Get on the international stage and say, hey, we've revamped the entire our entire way of doing things. We were able to revamp it. Our entire way of life, we were able to revamp it. Wait, and? So what? The point would be to eliminate our necessity for gasoline and subsidize more electric vehicles, electric trucks. I don't see the problem. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I mean, I think Biden has the capacity right now to be like, hey, look, enough of the oil subsidies. That's step 1. 2, move those oil subsidies to renewables. Step 3, incentivize the production of clean energy. Overhaul our infrastructure. The way we do energy needs to be changed. Destroying the supply chain. Nobody's talking about destroying the supply chain. First of all, the supply chain doesn't necessarily run on gasoline. Second of all, it's not about destroying the supply chain. It's about replacing it with electric or other renewables. The argument you're making, Space, is we should care about the horse and carriage industry. We should care about the horse and carriage industry because automobiles are going to destroy the horse and carriage industry. We should never move. We should never move to automobiles because what about the horse and carriage industry? We should never move to light bulbs because how are these candle makers? What about these candle makers? No, but they can run on electricity. What are you talking about? Every Uber driver and taxi should have to be in an electric car. Change my mind. Why would I? That should be a thing. Invest in public transportation so people need less cars. And make that public transportation green. Some Dutch companies are making very cool solar-powered vehicles right now. Yeah, there's solar-powered trucks too. So, yeah, the idea that, like, it's somehow gonna, like, be a massive disruption to the supply chain isn't an argument. Don't buy cars that are not green. We need to make them affordable and the norm. We need to make them affordable and the norm. Take away the subsidies from oil and gas and give that to renewables. Make electric cars cheaper, more affordable, accessible. So TLDR, please look out for nonsense like this and know how to properly dissect and understand how the oil industry lobbies and the oil industry gets into the media, and how the oil industry creates essentially like propaganda under the guise of under using academics to push it. It's not the first time they've done this. I'm just saying this is what it looks like. Okay? This is what it looks like. I'm starting my own car selling service of all electric vehicles. Nice. There you go. Businesses like that should be encouraged. Businesses like that should be encouraged. I also have a problem with like the whole voting with your dollars thing, because like that doesn't necessarily 100% fix the problem. You're basically like saying that the market should be the one to decide, but you can't really allow that to happen. You should run for government. So yeah, don't know how I will, but I am, so don't steal my ideas. Everybody steal this idea. Everybody should be stealing this idea. Yeah, I'm still not comfortable with just like saying, vote with your dollars, the market will fix it based on how many, like what people buy or whatever. That's gonna take way too long. The market is clearly not equipped to fix it. It's not. Alright folks, it is just under 11:30. I do have to get going. Thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate all of you guys being here. Really quick thank you Alio for the 14 biddies. Thank you Farms for President. Loki_war. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate all of you guys being here. If you do enjoy the content, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and all that awesome YouTube stuff. Make sure you do that there. And follow us Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, doing the news and politics. That's what we're here. Spread the word that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics. Thanks for the show. Thank you for being here. As always, I thank every one of you. Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Spread It Forward. Thank you, Grolem. As always, I appreciate all of you guys being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your support. I'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I love you all. Stay safe. Time flies. Thanks for the stream. Take care, folks. You take care. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. If you want to know more about the Space Drop project, just ask. I have no idea what that means. Anyways, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I love you all. Stay safe. Take care of each other. And I hope to see you guys in the next stream. See ya! Ben is on. Show the difficult truth love to Ben. Phenomenal human being. Let's head on over in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.